So I'm going to do a short little intro of like the pleasure of having these three powerhouses here tonight for us. I'm going to start with Dr. Dana White, who was so kind in putting this together as I emailed him over the weekend. So Dana White hosts the Myth Salon and is a contributing faculty member at Pacifica Graduate Institute. Dr. White teaches in the mythology studies program where he inspires students to explore the depth of myth of its modern relevance. As a driving force behind the Myth Salon, he fosters thought-provoking conversations that bridge the ancient world and contemporary life. Dr. Will Linn is a graduate of our Myth program, and he is a huge part of our Myth Salon, part of the Myth Salon, and the founder of mythhouse.org and Myths of Sophia radio series. Dr. Linn has worked with the Joseph Campbell Foundation. A lot of us have had John Booker as our professor too. And he's been featured on various documentaries and TV shows, highlighting his series Myths, the Greatest Mysteries of Humanity. We'll talk a little bit more about that and why I'm highlighting it for a future event that Myth Salon is going to do. And then Dennis Patrick Slattery, Distinguished Professor Emeritus in the Mythology Studies program at Pacifica. His work focuses on mythopoetics, exploring the intersection of myths, psychology, and poetry. He frequently collaborates with Myth Salon, where he co-hosts events such as the Creative Encounters, bridging mythology with art and culture. All right. Well, at this point, I would love to hand it over to our three guests to please introduce us to Myth Salon, particularly how you guys started and how you guys are still doing amazing events today in the world of myth and how it's relevant still.
Will and I started this, God, 2017.
No, no, no. It was 2015. Wait,
Mhm.
inauguration was 2016, right?
No, it's 2018, wasn't it?
W-
Well, wait.
No, it was we you're about to tell them the first event we had was an event where we were going to all talk about the anticipation of the first female president
Yeah,
with Hillary Clinton.
wasn't that 2018? No, it was 2016.
2016.
2016. God, we're older than we thought. Okay, so back it up. And there have been times in our history where we have cherry picked a good topic, where, low hanging fruit, and the upcoming election of Hillary Clinton to be the first woman president of the United States was low hanging fruit. Everybody in the country thought that she would be the next president. So we confronted our sensibilities about that. You have a projection that this is going to be something that's going to happen. It's an anticipation, it's an expectation. Whatever you want to call it, it blinds you to the possibility of it being otherwise. Well, we were completely dumbfounded as the month went on and the election took place. So we came back the next month and we had the same conversation as how could we possibly have missed this? What were we thinking about? How were we not able to see this? And following that, and these all were live events. These were not studio events or anything like that.
Dana, I know that who is it that says if you keep going back to this beginning of the story, you'll go back forever and start too soon. But I do have to say, there is a foundation that started in that I want to mention, which is Dana was hosting, as you're about to say that we had these originally in your house.
Yeah.
Dana was hosting the annual alumni events for the Pacifica Alumni Association at his home in Santa Monica and had been doing that for years. And so there was some natural continuity between the community that had gathered for those events in these first events in Dana's home.
That is true. And, eventually Diane came into the picture and began to really build an alumni association the best way that she knew how. But we had been doing that for, maybe 8 or 10 years before that. And having really large events that included a lot of faculty, and Steve Eisenstadt would come down and, all these other people would come down. Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you a little. I'd like to do a screen share of an a an event in our home that we did with Vanessa Taylor, because it was the it was one of our early videos, um, and I won't play much, but um,
So Vanessa Taylor, by the way, was nominated for, no, sorry, A Shape of Water was nominated for Best Picture. She had written the screenplay, and the Academy Awards were the next week. So she came and sat down with us that week before Shape of Water won, and we were talking about all these incredible things. And the reason why the production is so wonderful and what you're about to see, and I'm sure we'll backtrack later into it, is a whole group of students, specifically women, young women, because of the nature of the conversation, came from a school where I was teaching young filmmakers to shoot this, and eventually got involved.
she was also up for the Academy Award for Screenplay
She was,
with
okay.
Guillermo del Toro. Um, but I wanted to show you kind of what it looked like, and just roll a little bit of it. And
Is a producer and screenwriter known for her work on Hope Springs, the first Divergent film, Alias, Game of Thrones, and now Shape of Water, for which she's been nominated for an Academy Award. By the way, how many of you guys have seen Shape of Water? How many? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, awesome. Her next project, by the way, is Aladdin, to be directed by Guy Ritchie. As a child, Vanessa wrote fairy tales, if I can believe anything I've read about you on the internet now. In high school, she attended Interlochen in Michigan, which is crazy for me because I went to Cranbrook, also in Michigan.
Oh my God, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So, Vanessa, I'd also like to introduce to you this community of mythology and depth psychology alumni from Pacifica Graduate Institute. You've already met some of these students here with me, and here from the studio school. And also here with us is Dana White, a graduate of Pacifica's Myth program, who you know well, and Dara Marks, a mythologist and leading script consultant and friend of the Myth Salons. Game of Thrones and Shape of Water are a couple of the most mythological, symbolic, and psychological productions in recent memory. Shape of Water is an extremely exciting film for a depth psychologist or a mythologist.
what we do in the Myth Salon is we go out for hunting. We go out hunting for good people, good topics, topics that connect cultures, talk about spirituality, talk about cosmology, and we are amazingly successful at getting these people to come in. We don't charge anything for the Myth Salon, and we don't receive anything for the Myth Salon. We just do it. It is something that we both have felt a real passion for. Let me go to another screen share for a second.
In the days of the Dana House events, they were structured more at the time as me interviewing a guest. Once we moved online, and I will get there in the narrative, it transitioned. So what we're doing now is a little bit different. So what we're looking back on is back in that interview structure.
That's really true. And we are a child of COVID.
Yeah.
We were set to do another home event with Chris Vogler.
Mm-hmm.
And when COVID slammed the culture, nobody knew what was happening. Everybody stayed put. There were no social gatherings. Everything was canceled. Work was canceled. Schools were canceled. Everything was shut down. Gradually, it opened back up. And what happened was, I went to Chris Vogler and I said, I've heard about this thing called Zoom. And today, Zoom is commonplace. But at that time, nobody knew what it was or how to make it work or what you were doing. And we went on. And while we had, what would you say, we had 30 or 40 people at my home.
Oh, yeah. That would be like filling it up to the brim. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And that was sort of, either upstairs or downstairs. We had this,
Yeah.
we kind of operated at full capacity. And immediately when we went online on Zoom, we were able to pull in at least 100 for Chris Vogler with nobody even knowing what was going on with Zoom, and it built from there, and we
So
never went back.
one of the things I wanted to mention in our history is that so it started with Dana and I doing this thing. Dana coming to me and asking me to do this in his home, and that had a certain structure, and it was really supported by the Pacifica Alumni Association. Meanwhile, before I had moved to LA, I had been running Joseph Campbell Foundation mythological roundtables with other fellow myth students at the time at the Ojai Foundation, which is now the Topa Institute. And so we had done that for years, and we had kind of developed a list doing that. But it wasn't a list that I could invite to anything in LA. And also, I had done that radio show in Santa Barbara for the Santa Barbara News Press, and the list had come from that as well. And meanwhile, I'm teaching at this school of young artists. And the other thing that happened when we went online is we were able to extend our invitation, to all the different places we had been working with people and developed relationships and tribes and stuff. We could bring them together. And it was at a moment when it was existential. I'm over here. I was managing a department. I had like 12 teachers at a time, normally I think 15 that semester, and several of them Pacifica graduates. And we're over here like in a existential space about what we're doing as teachers at the time, but also what we were doing with the Myth Salon. We were getting so many beautiful messages from people who were, doing push-ups alone in their apartment and getting to connect with people through the Myth Salon. It was a very special time, and it provided a lot of purpose and momentum that came from community really asking for it at that time. And I understand that there was some of that going on with this group here too. And I think that's really incredible. And as we get, down the timeline, eventually we get to a lot more emphasis on collaboration, a lot more, simply by expansion of our own complexity as we've grown. From being able to do our simple things to do more, side quests and more relationships and stuff like that. But I want to hear more about that story when we get a chance. But that was the COVID was for us, and maybe there's something relatable in y'all's story, but COVID was for us really meaningful, and it brought together a huge audience. And then there was another thing that happened, and that was I held if you know who Chris Vogler is, probably many of you do. If you don't, he wrote a book called Writer's Journey, which translated Hero with a Thousand Faces, basically shifted into using movie examples in addition to the myth examples, simplified, integrated it with the main screenwriting paradigm by Sid Field, and boom, now it's like a real easy, digestible book for the hero's journey, and it became the one, in a big way. He worked for Disney and was the guy who came up with the idea of lifting Simba up in that critical moment. So he was integrated in all these critical parts, and by now there's like, no Hollywood franchise, as that's not using the hero's journey, but he's part of that lineage. So his 25th anniversary of his book was coming out. John Booker had introduced me to the publisher, and we came up with this idea to do an event for the 25th anniversary release. And this is something that I'd share as a strategy, because as far as we're concerned, as I'm concerned, this is like more of this is good, more and more and more. And so what I did is I went and invited different communities that had interest in that book, Screencraft, which is like the biggest online community for screenwriters, and they have a whole story, one of the biggest. And then I went to Michael Weesey and Save the Cat and SLN, and used all these, opened all these doors that were there, and they invited their communities, and we invited like 500,000 people, and we had, during the night of the last debate between Biden and Trump, we had 4,000 people live during that debate instead, and it was in a pretty significant email list, 5,000 people to our email list. And that took something, so that we went from that first 10 months of COVID where we were having 150 people coming just because it was that intense, to with what was going on, to now all of a sudden there was this add a zero to our list size, and bringing in a lot more professional screenwriters into our list, and that really accelerated us further. And then at the same time, right just after that, I created a new website, the Myth House website, and that opened us into kind of a new stage of things at that point. Does that sound?
Why don't you share the Myth House website?
so this is the website, and this is you know, for I have, when I was finishing my PhD, um, I was doing my PhD with Maria Tatar, who some of you might know was the chair of the Myth and Folklore degrees at Harvard, and Lance and Kieran LeGrice. And as I was finishing, I was doing the radio show in Santa Barbara and the Roundtable series. And this school came to me, and I connected with them. Actually proposed this school is getting started. I won't tell the whole story, but I ended up helping build from the ground up a film and performing arts college. And it was one of the most radical things ever. We built, they asked me specifically, like I pitched a class and they asked me if I built a school with them to build myth and story into the arts training of all these young filmmakers, actors, dancers, musical theater majors. I can't encourage you enough to teach at an arts college, because when your students are transmuting what you're teaching into art projects, you are in your own, it's like the most amazing thing ever. So skipping through some of that and hopefully coming back to it, one of the students, a former student, I ended up collaborating with him, AJ Floridis, to do a number of things, and he built this website. So I built this with a former student. This is something I've been dreaming up for years. This is just kind of a fun surface, right? This is the Mythic calendar. So we can click on this, and this will change the portals down here. We click on holidays from that month, different things mythically connected to that month. Or we can click on the zodiac and where they fit. And there we go. Cool. And then this is set up to go give you different information from different sources. I'm big on, epistemology and connecting to sources and everything. So everything is done in this really thoughtful way around how to express the research, whatever. So we go to a portal. Portal is going to take us to Sangha Day. Now it's going to bunch of different information on Sangha Day. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And if we want more of it, it'll take us to the extended page. Ooh, how do I doing that? Okay. That'll take us to YouTube. And we can watch, or actually that's set up to do the embedded videos. So anyway, that's what those are, kind of fun. But what I want to show you, that's just like fun calendar, looking for ways to be accessible for mythology, like the days of the week, the planets, the holidays. These are super accessible sides of mythology for people that are in the normal world. And so building a lot around those types of things, holidays, calendars. But this is the blog of all the events we've been doing for, and that I've been a part of for years and years. This is our upcoming one. We'll share this one, I'm sure, so I won't go into it. I think we're going to talk about it in a little bit. But this is the blog, and this is promoting an event that we're going to be doing. Oh, that's interesting how that worked. But how we're going to be doing an event, or that we supported an event that the Mythologium group is doing for, is doing for Dennis's birthday. But these are also, this is a friend from Scotland. She puts on a series called Maiden Mother Crone. She asked me if I would help her do it. And I was like, put those on, do whatever you want with your stuff, but put it on our site too. And we'll share it with our audience. And then this is these other ones right here, all the Indian stuff, mythology classroom stuff. That's my friend Sunil in India, in Mumbai. He does a series called Mythology Classroom. Reach out, go to those. I know all of you are in that place where you just want to start stacking experiences and whatever. Like, he would love to have you do a mythology classroom, Maiden Mother Crone. These are opportunities to just keep doing stuff. But anyway, I want to just keep supporting these things. And I would love to support any other, mythology organization that wants to just promote their events on here. But this goes back forever to all the stuff we've done. Mm-hmm. And the mythology channel itself here is just more of the media focused stuff that we've done. So I don't want to get too bogged down in the website. But these are more video stuff, more portals. There was another, we've done a number of side series kind of stuff. It's been going for a long time. And like Dana said, we've never made any money on it. And that's never been the point. What I have done is I've had just a transformational amount of opportunities in my life, and an unbelievable amount of jobs that absolutely come from all the stuff I do for free. And this is part of it, and part of that flow. And this is in that space of community and events and supporting our collective community, and come from that space of just co-creating. And it's been incredible, and it's awesome meeting y'all. And I hope we'll come up with ways to, anything we can do to support and co-create and, build what y'all are doing. That's what it's really, that is really where it started. Emotionally, energetically, was like, we want community with more people. Like, we listen to y'all talk about who you are and what you're into, and it's like everybody from the Pacifica's Myth program is like an absolute treasure in this universe.
Mhm.
And we don't get a lot of time together. And I started with people in LA saying, let's get together, but really it's all of us everywhere.
Well, now that Dennis has become, I mean, for the past 3 or 4 years, he's been a mainstay on our panel.
Maybe the whole time.
Um,
Yeah.
Dennis, why don't you say a few things about your perception of participation in the Myth Salon, both as a subject matter type teacher type person, but just as a person who is involved in, you've watched it grow and you've come on board with us.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy to. I think I came on when COVID hit,
Mm-hmm.
and you were so gracious in inviting me in. And then I think you guys got to help me with memory here, but I think I did 5 presentations like you did with Lionel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so anxious around Zoom. You kicked my butt and said, present. And you really initiated me into Zoom. It was because as McLuhan said, the medium is the message. It's the context. And I thought, well, this isn't a classroom, but let's see what's going to happen here. Also, just a kind of a sidebar, but it wasn't a sidebar at all. When COVID hit and Pacifica went online almost within 10 days, I was, as emeritus, I was allowed to teach 2 courses a year. And for the same money that a part-timer would make. But money has never been the thing for me. The joy of learning has been where the juice is. So I said yes. So I did it 1 year, 20, and then it came up to 2021, and I thought, phew, do I want to prepare Zoom classes for 7 hours to teach these 2 classes one time? And I can still feel where the voice came from. It came from over here, and it said, you're done. Let it go. So I had a talk with Lance, and he said, you've given me 8 months for when you were going to teach these courses. So he said, I have plenty of time. And he said, I'm going to take over your epic class. I said, great, because I really love the epic imagination class, and I was hoping it would stay in the curriculum. And then the other one was personal myth and creative writing. And Heather, you were with me in that one, right? Yeah.
Sure
And
was,
so,
both of them, epic and personal myth.
that's right. Thank you. So after I did 5 presentations, I settled into it and I said, I really like this. And this community is an extension of what I enjoyed for I think I taught at Pacifica for 27 years total. And I thought this is a perfect extension of that work. So yeah, and I just have loved being part of it. You need to know something about me, and it gets a little harder as I get older. I get up at 4 a.m. and I've done that for 33 years. And that's when I write and read, meditate. So Sandy and I go down at 6:30 or 7. So I'm way past my bedtime here, but I took a nap. So that's why my eyes are still open. But once I get into the Myth Salon and we get going with whoever's going to speak, the juice in the game is when the conversations start.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a joy. To be around like-minded, but not Xeroxed people. They're not Xeroxing one another, but there's a kind of common mythic imagination working through with its energy, and the stimulation of hearing other people's points of view is just so rich, and it really redefines what abundance is in a life. And it's not about things or money. It's about sharing where the soul is being summoned and called with others. Yeah, that's why I keep coming back. You can't get rid of me.
Whoa. In doing that, I want to share another screen and just run through some of these and let you see. Um,
As you pull that up, Dana, I just want to comment real quick on what Dennis just said, because I want to say that Dennis's involvement in the like he's the common denominator here. In some ways, he's been a common denominator for so many things. He was the first person to do a Mythosophia episode with me, and it's like one of the greatest gifts to have a few, to have somebody like Dennis on the inside, and then be going to ask people like we've asked to join us. It's transformational and was really grounding and powerful for us. I don't know if we ever even said that to you or acknowledged it with you, Dennis, but it definitely strengthened our situation and enabled us to get some of these amazing people in ways that we don't even have to have asked to have known. So yeah.
No, it's been a real rich reciprocal relationship with you guys and with those others who are present here and with the hundreds and hundreds that we've seen show up for different myth salons over the years. Yeah. There's a real tradition alive now with the Myth Salon.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Myth Salon on the Movies. This is our second annual, and we have such a stellar panel with us today. We do annuals on the movies. This is our second annual. We'll do another one.
On the movie one, Dana, I just want to point out, like that's another side quest that we put into the center of what we're doing. Transformational narrative has become a kind of sub focus that's not defining everything we do, but it's been one of the focuses, and that's everything from the thing we did with Chris Vogler to going out of our way and making sure we did events with Maria Tatar on Heroine of 1001 Faces, Clyde Ford on Hero with an African Face, John Booker, Carol Pearson on the Hero. So we've really made it a point to focus in on those and to focus in on where myth and the monomyth in the movies meet. So to do those events on myth in the movies were so special because we went from like doing a one-off event with Clyde and Maria and we would bring our friends together. But for the myth in the movies, it was like, we just got all of those people together, which in my mind, in my mythology, these are the living voices carrying this conversation right now of what the monomyth is all about. And they came together with us to talk about movies in the Oscars the last couple of years. And that's a really, I think, special thing that we do.
Yeah. And Maria will be with us in a couple of weeks when we do the Myth and Monsters for Halloween.
Yeah.
You guys know that her son-in-law is Jason Blum of Blumhouse.
I'm showing Steve Eisen. We did one with Steve Eisenstadt. We did one on the Enneagram. I mean, the list is just extensive in terms of what we've done, and we try to do about one a month. During COVID, we sometimes got up to two a month. But now that I'm traveling again and Will's getting around, we're back to one a month.
And by the way, to last for 8 years or whatever it's been or more, whatever, I don't know. Advice I would give to anybody thinking about anything that looks anything like this. Routine is a killer. It's a silent killer. And letting yourself be forgiven for breaking the routine and being a human is critical for sustaining something like this, in my experience. In this experience.
And it's a completely, from what I can tell, I say this from my point of view, but it's really a loving collaboration. I don't think you and I will have had a disagreement in the entire time, because basically I want to be supported and you want to be supported, and I want to give loving support to you. I went to you with the idea of, a preamble to this was that I had heard my wife and her book club have these great conversations, and I wanted some of that. And I didn't, I had them sporadically, but it was my friend Dara Marks said, well, why don't you talk to this guy, Will Linn, and start a salon? And so we just called it the Myth Salon. And, you know, it was up and running as soon as the two of us sat down together.
Yeah. And let me just add something to what you are saying now. You and Will set the tone, and setting the tone for something at the beginning, where this is collaborative. And so somebody says something that you just don't agree with. Very rarely do I recall somebody saying, well, I don't really, and getting into that egoic,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and the hands are closed. You just listen and then you go on and speak your piece. But setting the tone is, I mean, it is so important and it's kind of invisible. So I just wanted
Absolutely.
to highlight it and
Thank
bring it
you.
up to visibility.
Thank you. Do any of you all have any questions about how we do what we're doing, where we're going? I mean, not that we either of us has any idea where we're going, but we we work it out month by month by month, and we figure out where we're going. And I just got a postcard today from Phil Cousineau,
Yeah, his events were
Oh,
great.
good.
and he wants to do another one, probably maybe before the end of the year, maybe next year. Um, Having somebody uh, like Phil Cousineau as a draw for us is just remarkable. I mean, it's just hard to say how much I appreciate his friendship.
And you know, some people we invite turn around and send it out to their email lists, and it's great. And some of them don't, and we don't really ask them to. We've
Yeah,
never been transactional or whatever with
right.
that. But it's been cool when it's happened and it's made a difference. I would say not enough, you know, only with the ones that have been like my friends, you know, where it's easy. It's like my friend in Mumbai or, you know, my friend in Edinburgh, Scotland, the Highlands, like those, but like and what I haven't done is well, neither of us have done is poured administrative effort into this thing, you know. And anytime you try to do that, we become liable for setting ourselves up for something unsustainable, you know. But that is something I do wish for a long term with the Myth Salon at this point, is as it, you know, lands with its own momentum, that it I don't want to say institutionalizes, but I want to say more so organizes with more support, where those types of things, it's like obviously that'd be amazing. It's just that that type of thing to go through an organization instead of a person normally takes 3 or 4 more emails, but it's 3 or 4 times more rewarding, and it's a scope thing. So yeah, minor bit, same page. Would love to more, and let me know if you know anybody that's interested in helping us do it.
Well, you know, we have had international support, for example, from the filmmaker who did the David Bohm Implicate Order film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he stayed up till the middle of the night to talk to us um, from England. I mean,
It was really important for us to identify people in our community and your community that could do certain things and that wanted to. You know, Corinne Bordeaux's out there and she loves all of us doing all the things we're doing. And she's, you know, if you don't know who that is, you should find out who that is. And Corinne is promoted an Academy Award winning or nominated film every year for the last 25 years. And so she,
mm,
part of how she supported us is brought some of those films our way, you know, that are good fits to do some stuff with, you know. But she's not looking for one outlet for that. She's looking for thousands, you know. That's where she is. So yeah, so Corinne helped us with that one.
mm-hmm.
Dana, you have brought in people whose dissertation defenses you've attended and really liked. And so, a real close connection between the Myth program.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were Myth students. But I like that connection, that somebody is got something really hot going and you provided them a larger venue.
Yeah, if I've sat on about 75 dissertation committees, and if there's a good one out there, and Gar Jameson, for example, has come on. But there's any number of people who have good, very interesting, out of the box type dissertations. And I try to make them all available for this, and especially while they're good. I mean, the Labyrinth guy, Denny,
That was a very international collaboration. That was a very cool thing. That was like international Labyrinth groups all over the world for their International Labyrinth Day, bringing us in to do something with them. That was super cool.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Dana White. I'm the host of the Myth Salon, and pursuant to Labyrinths, I served on the dissertation committee of Dr. Dennis Hall doing something on labyrinths, and it's just opened up a massive groundswell of labyrinth involvement that I just was unforeseen. We got Dr. Lauren Arntress to come in.
And there was another thing that we did around climate boot camp. This is like a side quest. I don't want to derail totally, but Climate Reality, Al Gore's thing, and then Harvard Alumni Association, their committee for the climate, collaborated to create something called the Climate Boot Camp to train business leaders to change their organizations. Kind of after the question of, is something wrong? What's wrong? To how do you make change from inside an organization? So I helped them build that, and I built a platform to host it because I was wanting to build a platform for delivering courses, and that's a whole other conversation which is going on. And so I built this platform for them, or for a platform that I first used with them to pilot, and we did a number of events in partnership with them, and a good bit of our audience comes from people that went to that. We've trained 5,000 people on the Climate Bootcamp. And so thousands of those people have now found their way onto the email list. And honestly, that stuff is like, I've not been able to take a step into fully organizing that into a job. It's always been in flow and with what comes in and what we can do. And that's been great for me. If there was ever more energy to pour on it, amazing. But right now it's been lucky and opportunistic. But this one we're doing next time when we talk about it, we're doing it too close to time for me to fully talk to the people I worked with to try and organize it, to do it officially with them. But this Myth TV series in Europe with Storyhouse is the name of the production company. And we basically did 3 seasons, 30 episodes.
For thousands of years, they have captivated and mystified us, fueling our imaginations. But what if the legends are more than just stories?
For ZDF, and then Channel 5 History, Sky, and it's in South America and Europe, and it's just coming out for the first time in South America, and hoping it's going to come to the US, and that means they haven't let anything leak into the US market. And so we're going to take a little risk and show a little bit of clips next time. But that's another collaboration that I want to expand with them, because we have like these 30 episodes that I was a part of around mythic topics, and would like to just use those as a chance to keep working with them. So we've gone out of our way too to work with different partners that have media and have their own like media emphasis. Yeah,
we have often thought, both of us, since we attended Pacifica, that a lot of the things that we are doing are the kinds of things that Pacifica either ought to have been doing.
No, you guys have never had conversations like that about what we want.
They fit right into the model of what Pacifica is about. And whether these communities happen to be spiritual communities or creative communities or production communities or educational communities, Pacifica stands poised to be at the hub of every one of those communities, because myth has a universal function of interpreting the vision of whatever organization, whatever person, whatever field of involvement can possibly be expressed. And then it has the interconnective part of having business be spiritual, or spirituality having a cultural significance, or what have you. So that it's the interconnective ways that these various activities in our cultures and among the humanities all work. Myth is the universing principle, the connecting fiber of all of that.
And it used to be an uphill battle. When I was at school and I told people in the Myth program, and I was telling people I was doing Myth, it was so uphill. And our culture has moved just in the last 10 years. Yeah. And it's so much more ready and receptive and where we are with these things. It's really beautiful. I find, yeah, it's really exciting. What I found in the years after Pacifica, the directions that it grows and the evolution of, being in spaces where people don't really know what it is, to the space itself beginning to be more ready to receive and understand what we are. That's been so affirming. And I'll share with y'all, when I applied to the Myth program, I was 1 year out of college, and I wrote to them and I said, and when I told them I wanted to apply, they said, hey, there's not been anyone your age that has gone to this program. And we feel like we should tell you that before you go. It's like mostly people like at least 5 or 10 years older than you. And I said, what? That's crazy. This is where it's going. I'll get there. I'll go there and it'll all come. This is where it's at. And so, of course, within like a year or two, there was this huge influx of a bunch of younger students into the Myth program, and that's continued. And I know the Myth program is going to have its ups and downs, and I've been in places, who knows about how the vessels go. But the energy inside this vessel is so amazing and so beautiful and so growing into our world. I don't know. Honestly, I couldn't be any more excited about where I see all of our collective roles in the space being in this next, in this coming time.
Oh, well, I remember, I would tell a story on you, Will.
Uh-oh.
Will's mind worked at electric speed. And so we would take a break for 15 minutes and Will would come leaping up to the podium, and I had to go to the bathroom so damn bad, but he wouldn't let me go because he had one sentence that was going to take him about 11 minutes to say. And then I would call the group back, and then I'd go to the bathroom because Will was just on fire.
Oh my gosh.
And I loved him. I thought of, who is this brilliant rascal that won't let me go to the bathroom?
Somebody who needed a Myth program to figure out at all who I was. That's for sure.
Anyhow, it was so, you and Dana, I mean, it's just a joy to have you, and Heather, to have you in the classroom. Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is a good opportunity to actually ask Heather to talk about the history of our group, because it spawns from COVID as well. And Heather and Dia were the ones who created what was Mythic Musings, which is now called Mythic Nexus, but then the birth of ISM, which Heather is doing right now. Heather, can you take a few minutes for us?
Maybe. I don't know. It's a similar story. COVID hit. Dia and I were in the Myth program, and we needed a way to connect with other people. We needed a way to be inspired and have connectivity, and it was just the right time to do the Zoom. And we had guest lectures. We had Dennis, one of our first lectures, come, and it really was a special time. And it was so special that we thought, what do we do with this once I moved out of the program into the dissertation stage, and Dia is just now in the dissertation stage. And we thought that the Mythic Museums, now Mythic Nexus, should be run by current students. So we passed the baton on to Jacqueline and Aida to run. And but we still wanted involvement in something. So we launched ISM, but I'd love to know how Dana and Will managed to do all that they do with the time that it just blows my mind how much they've done. Now they've got a few years on us, but
Are you
You know,
kidding? I see you guys are so active on social media compared with us. Y'all are moving.
I mean, I must spend 30 hours a week working on stuff,
Oh my
and
gosh.
we haven't paid ourselves yet, and it's a ton of work. But
Yeah.
it's there's a reason, and like Will said, we want to collaborate with everybody. There's so many ways to tell a story, so there's so many ways to approach a story. So there's so many ways for us all to be out there and connect with each other. So that's really us too. We want to connect and we want to collaborate and we want to inspire and whatever we can do to all be together. I mean, I love hearing you all's dissertation topics. I get so excited when I hear about a dissertation topic and the energy you have behind it. And um, so yeah, and we're always looking for how you want the community to evolve. So what do you want? So bring that to us, and we'll create a space for it. You may have to do some of the work to help us, but that's sort of where we're going. And this space, I know, will evolve with each new passing of the torch too. So it's kind of neat.
It's super cool. I'm super glad to have learned it existed. And I was kind of a little bummed that I didn't know that it existed when it was going on during COVID. I would have been there, that's really cool. But yeah, it's as far as doing all the stuff and also the money stuff, I've been lucky in some ways in that I found ways to sustain myself as a mythologist in various ways, so that it can be this on one level, this is the passion stuff. Not that the work isn't passion, but this is the stuff I've done for free. But at the same time, just like a scholar who writes a book that doesn't sell any books, if they didn't write the book, they couldn't get the 6-figure academic job. And so in some ways, this stuff for us is more like the book that opens a bunch of doors. When it comes to the cashing out side of it, the actual making money, because we all have to do that and shouldn't be embarrassed about it as mythologists, like that side of it. We haven't even, tried to turn that corner with the Myth Salon, and I hope that y'all will. And we've seen, and part of the reason why we haven't is we've seen it be a challenge for various efforts to do it. But where we have seen tremendous, reward has been the ways that there are amazing jobs out there for us. They aren't on paper, or nobody knows what they are before they exist, show up the minute before they exist for us, right? Those are out there. But like doing all this stuff is why those doors open. So it's this crazy thing, but really beautiful and really amazing. And it requires a lot of energy. And the way that we do a lot of it is in sequence. It's like we put 6 months all in on that website. And I spent a year making all the holidays on that website. Haven't touched a holiday in a year and a half, but now it's in the infrastructure. Same thing with the newsletter, same thing with the social media. These were projects, one after another, over years, laying more and more infrastructure, one piece of it at a time. And it got, once you lay down that piece of infrastructure, it's set, and then it's easy. And so, it's a lot of just struggling, and doing it anyway somehow, the impossibility of just doing the things you want to do when it doesn't work anyway, but it works somehow.
Yeah.
And I would just add one little thing is that one of our goals is to try to find a pathway for mythologists to make a living. And we thought, well, we can't figure it out by ourselves. So we need to gather with other people to try to find a path forward. So that was part of our mission too.
I saw Ruby leave, and if anybody else is going to begin to leave, I want to sneak in an invitation to everyone for something, which is, this is another thing I'm a part of. If any of you are in Southern California, this is fascinated by everything. This is this company that I work for and am a partner of. And you've heard of the Sphere in Las Vegas, and LA has something like the Sphere. It's called COSM. It's 500 people instead of 20,000, but it's the same technology, this new medium, this new immersive experience of an LED dome. So this new venue has bought a piece that I've worked on with my friend Chris, who Dana and Dennis know. And Chris is a former Smashing Pumpkin, has been opening for Paul McCartney for 15 years. So he does the music, he does this visual art. I feed him audio narration from people like Joseph Campbell, Clyde Ford, Aldous Huxley, whoever, right? So I feed him the narration, and then I tell him when this quote could go in sequence. Hey, this quote should be in the first eighth of the story. This quote, if you're going to use it, goes in the third eighth, right? That kind of thing. And so then he picks symbols, and he makes this piece. And so we've sold this piece to Qasim. It's a big piece, and it's going to be premiering in the next, I don't know, very soon. It's past due. But when that opens, we'll want to go out of our way to invite. It's really important to Chris. Part of what we're doing is we want to invite. Whenever we put events on together, it's a lot of filmmakers and comedians and musicians and whatever mythologists I can get to show up with me. And it's really important to both of us to bring together for him, these artist communities of filmmakers and musicians, and for me, our friends that are mythologists together. And we've done this a few times for some amazing experiences. And I just want to make sure that I extend that invite to y'all and find a way to get that invite to y'all as we begin to do more events at Qasim. For any of you in Southern California, we really intentionally want to make a physical, in-person community, more experiences like that with musicians, artists, filmmakers, mythologists, depth psychologists. So if that sounds interesting to y'all, I hope y'all will, I don't know, follow my Instagram is the easiest way to do it, but we'll try to keep getting out the invitation to that. But that's another really exciting thing that we've been doing and want to get the invite to y'all for.
And we really welcome input on new Myth Salon ideas and people. I have just put in the chat the registration link for the upcoming Myth Salon, and I have invited Jacqueline to participate as a panelist. Dennis will be there. Maria will be there. It's really going to be a great Myth Salon. This is an easy Myth Salon, if there is such a thing, for us to do, because there's certain ones that are unnatural. Doing a Myth Salon on myth and monsters 2 days before Halloween is a natural. So I would invite all of you to come and see what we do, and get on the email lists and do that. I do, if there's no other questions or comments or what have you, I've got to deal with family and dog at about this point. What do you think, Jacqueline? Have we about covered everything?
I think we have. Let's show of hands. Does anybody have questions or anything real quick? I can also stay on. Well, Dana actually is the host, so we can't.
I can. You can. No, if we want this to go any further, but I'm feeling like we've pretty much covered what we wanted to do.
I think you covered absolutely everything. I do suggest people get onto the newsletter in particular, because another really
the best way to do that is if you Dana will add you to the newsletter if you register for an event. And so let me just send you the event page that'll lead you to the register. Oh, you know what, Dana, I don't have the registration link yet. Do you have the registration link for the Zoom?
I just put it for the next Myth Salon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat.
That's the best thing. If y'all register for that, then I'm sure Dana will add you to the newsletter list.
I can also share Dana's email address from Myth Salon, which then they can email you directly and you can add them.
Right.
Okay.
I will say I am patently old school. I don't do social media. I don't have a website. I don't have a web page. As close to all of this is what we're doing right now. And I get a lot of joy and substance out of the interaction, but I don't live on social media. I mean, it's just not, I don't have Facebook and all of those things. And, I probably should, but, I don't.
Speaking of in-person, old school, if any of you are in or around Dennis or I'm spending a lot of time in Austin, Texas, and I am gathering events, and I am doing really special events on Myth in Austin, Texas. I'm doing these, if you remember that TV show Entourage, the actor Adrien Grenier from Entourage, also the love interest from Devil Wears Prada, he and his wife have built a land sanctuary in Austin, Texas, 87 acres on a river in Bastrop, and it's amazing. We just had a party there with like 125 people until sunrise in a circle of 250-year-old pecan trees that we cleared out and put a dance floor in and a DJ. It was amazing. That's what we do at night. But on Sunday mornings, once a month, I do a sermon of the earth, because they thought, wouldn't it be better to have sermons done by a mythologist, is what they told me after one fateful conversation, than what they had in mind before that. So there's a lot of incredible community that I am gathering in person, and we're trying to get Dennis to come to one. He's celebrating his birthday this weekend, but John Booker's coming down to do an event with me this coming Sunday. So if any of you are in the Texas area, or in would want to be in Austin, Texas at all, I wanted to put that out there too. Would love to invite anyone to actually come and hang out and go to those events with us. Just contact me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will say a really cool event that me and my boyfriend got to do. Dana took us to the William Blake exhibit at the Getty, which was amazing. It was just such an amazing time together. We also had such a beautiful lunch before we got to see the exhibit and got to meet such wonderful people. Please sign up for the newsletter. That's really the best way.
You do bring up that's the community aspect of what Will and I do. That when we see something that's happening, we'll put together an event around it. And the next thing you know, I open a door at the Getty and we get a guided tour, and it's really a lot of fun, and it brings myth and culture alive for me and the people around me. It's when we see something, it could be a film, it could be a talk. We develop awareness about things that seem to be worth doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Wonderful evening with all of you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for
keep your work going. You're the next generation.
Thank you, Dennis, for staying.
Tradition.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Right. And keep an eye out for this interview that I did of Dennis for his birthday. That's going to be floating around here any second. So that was really special and really exciting to hear Dennis tell so much of his stories. So I'm really excited to share that.
You did a beautiful job interviewing. I can't thank you enough.
I did, as long as I could, you don't know how much I was, it looked like that because I had pauses because I was playing it cool. So you couldn't tell I was going to cry. So that's the only reason I pause when I speak, is pretending not to cry. So anyway, thanks, Dennis. See y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.